So what children do to you in your marriage?
Take over. Take over.
Yeah.
But that's it. Just goes back to me. Even through the challenges, the hills, the mountains, up and downs, the valleys, it still feels like just yesterday to me.
I don't like to do the dishes. I'll cook, but I don't like to do the dishes, you know? And so he's able to come in and do the dishes, if I cook, when I cook. So I'm the cook, he's the cleaner kind of thing. So that's a compromise that we've made without making it known. We just do it. We met through my best friend and his cousin are a couple, and so we met like that on four-way.
Four-way? Is that like an app or?
You said what?
Oh no.
No,
Just me like through. Okay.
Yeah, like somebody called me and they called a person, and then it was like,
yeah. It was real weird. It was four people on the phone. That's how we met.
Oh, like in Mean Girls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Y'all
no, we don't do that.
No, that was no.
We're a little old school. But yeah, that's how we met. And then he was living in Arkansas and I was living in Dallas. And so we talked on the phone for a little while before we met in person.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell the side of the story.
Oh man, so
where were we?
We were.
We gotta repeat.
Okay, where we met? We were in Houston. I went on a trip with some friend of mine. I wasn't gonna go because it was a couples trip, and with that, I talked to her, and she was like, "Hey, I'm down for coming." At first, I thought she wasn't coming for me; she was coming for some friends. But she told me, she was like, "No, I came down here for you." So ended up meeting, and I was a little tipsy. And came out and brought her in and
and
you tell that boy,
the rest of the night
I'm embarrassed.
he probably doesn't remember because he got crazy after that. So yeah, he was nervous. So he was drinking a lot, and I was nervous, but it took the edge off because my best friend was there with his cousin. And so we was able to, have girl time with the girls and boy time with the boys. And then, we hung out a little bit all weekend. So that was the first time we met.
Anthony and I met through some friends.
Yeah, blind date actually.
January 1984. And we got married in September 1984.
We met at church in Tulsa at a church family night. I was playing basketball and Mechelle was hanging out with his mom. And
she wasn't there.
I'm pretty confident she was there.
I was there by myself.
Anyway.
I was playing dominoes.
Yeah, so I came over to play dominoes. Usually I would play dominoes after I played basketball. And
only that night she did that because she saw me.
Okay. So that's how we met at, we were young, we were teenagers. So
yep, I was going off to college.
I was going to senior year in high school.
From January to September. 9 months. And it didn't consist of a child.
We were together a year now?
Yeah, we officially started, like we met in June, and we officially made it official late July, August, around the area of 18.
We was together in June. He didn't know.
Anyway.
But we were a couple.
Between
we were a couple in June when I went to Houston to meet him. But he proposed that next year for Christmas. So it was a year and a half. And then we got married this last October. So it was a little over 2 years before we got married.
8 years.
Yep, 8 years.
Almost to the day. We got together June 9th, 2014 and got married June... No, we got together...
2014.
No, sorry, 2004. We got together June 14th, 2004. Got married June the 9th, 2012.
A lot of good things happen in June.
Forever.
Do you still feel
I didn't know that was what we agreed to.
That's what you said. You even asked the priest or what was he? The pastor.
I didn't know until I didn't know for sure until we were standing there getting ready to get married, and then they asked, "So do you want?" What did he say?
Respect and obey.
Yeah, I wasn't really sure about that. So it took a while. Whenever
She
they
wouldn't
asked
say
it, it took a second. It was like the longest pause. Like people.
He told her you have to say it, and then finally she said it.
So I wasn't sure until that, like for real, sure until that moment, because I knew like once I said it, then it was for real.
I knew that I wanted to be with him forever when he would come to visit me in Dallas. He was literally there every weekend. And anytime he didn't have his children, he would come to see me. And I knew that I wanted to be with him forever when it hurt every single time that he left. Like, I would, like, I cry inside, and it eventually got to the point where I would cry in front of him, like, oh, don't, I'm tearing up. That's the baby, that's not. But it hurt when he left. And so that's how I knew, like, I'm, like, really in love.
Right. And basically for me, you know, it's more of her just connecting. The connection that we had when it came to music, with us being music lovers, that's a love language, and that was our love language. And the fact that we, she started doing things for me that I didn't. I'm not gonna say I didn't receive, but I didn't. It was to the point where she just did it without even having to do it, no hesitation. And I love the things that I. Basically, that irks me about her, I love them. So, you know.
Well,
It's just a feeling. It's just one of those feelings. At that time, I just going on a blind date. Next thing I knew, I was proposing. And she was saying no, but I was proposing.
one day he was outside cutting my grass.
Really?
And I thought, wow, he must really like me. But it did surprise me that he just, out the blue, decided to come over and do some things that I didn't ask him to do. And that meant a lot to me, that he came just to cut the grass in the garden, the house that I was staying in at the time. And we did see each other on a regular basis and talked a lot.
Yes.
Having kids was truly a blessing. We were married for 2 years before
2 years.
we had children, and we had to go through with some assistance in having children because we weren't able to from the beginning. And I was 28, I think, when we got married.
Yeah, because you're 29.
Yes, but just having children for me was just truly a blessing.
Yes, and it definitely gelled us together more. We became not just a couple, but a family.
The kids, they didn't affect anything per se. I know with me, it was more so of protecting them and also protecting her. But the good thing about us, we gave a 6-month time limit to when she met my actual children. And at that time, we knew right then that the bond was stronger and it was worth it. And it was going to be worth it when we met.
I think it did it for the better.
Yeah, it helped us learn how to work together, like from the beginning.
Yeah.
It forced us to make the choice to work together from the beginning.
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
I think it was good for us. It was a good growing opportunity for us.
Well, as far as compromises, I don't think we had to make them after getting married because we had already lived together. We knew each other, we knew each other's families and how we operated. I think it was compromises that we had to make before. So after getting married, it was just a piece of paper and a celebration, you know? We had to come back to real life right after that.
Having to see each other. We had been long distance dating, our whole dating, 8 years of our dating career, our experience, and then to have to live together consistently, that was different.
Yeah, that was super different.
Working.
Probably communicating.
Yeah.
Communicating was a big deal. I struggled at that because, again, come and go.
Yeah, he gave me articles about how many words women say versus men, because clearly that validates things.
It didn't make it better. So, but yeah, communication was a big deal once we actually were in the same place.
I think learning how to work, when we've worked since we've been together, but learning how to work and parent at the same time and respect each other's schedule.
I drove all my life pretty much by myself, and to have someone else drive for me was truly a blessing, so we didn't have to compromise really anything I could think of.
Yeah.
Well, we deal with minute problems, not in the best way. I think we could do a better job of communicating better.
We do excellent. I didn't know we had any.
Okay.
I guess we do need to communicate better.
You know, the minute things we're still learning how to deal with. Because depending on how we're feeling, those minute things can turn into big things, and we have to learn how to find the balance and letting things go. I think that he's able to let things go way easier than I am. Those little small things he's able to let, roll off his shoulder. And it makes me mad because I'm like, we need to deal with this. Like, I get that it's just a shoe in the middle of the floor, but I almost killed myself about this shoe in the middle of the floor. It's not a big deal to him. But I'm a talker and I'm a verbal person. And so I always want to, talk about things and communicate them. So we're still figuring that out.
A lot of things don't faze me. I move on. If it's not a fire, I'm not having a fire drill. So we all have bad days, and I don't know.
I try to talk about all the things, which can be tiresome for some.
Very true.
But we have a rule: we don't go to bed upset. So that is how we tackle the small and the big things.
Yeah. If it's big, we say we need to table that, and that just it's a comma. It's not a period, so we'll be revisited. But we definitely try to at least have a conversation in some capacity.
We did premarital counseling prior to getting married. We met with our pastor at the time, and pretty much just kind of went over biblical, I guess.
Yeah, the requirements of marriage, biblical requirements of marriage, yes.
Yes, and then Anthony did talk to my father before we actually got married as well.
Yes, I did ask him for her hand in marriage.
It was horrible. It was horrible. We did. But in hindsight, we definitely should have asked someone that probably didn't really know us that well. I think part of it being so horrible was the fact that they have relationships with both of us. So out of that familiarity, important questions that should have came up, like budgeting,
Things that should have been taught.
Yeah, things that really should have been taught didn't, because it was already assumed that based off of our background and things like that, we'd have been exposed to it. So I think if we went back, we would have picked someone that didn't have such a biased opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yes, we did. We premiered the council. We actually did it with a friend of the family, which is like an uncle to her. He's the one that actually did the ceremony for us. It was a great session. It was something that we both agreed upon. I feel like, you know, when you're taking that next step into life, you know, I recommend anyone, you know, talk it out, have a mediator, because there's gonna be some things still unsaid that you're not able to talk with that person, that you're gonna have that person to elaborate and tell it in a way that you want to tell it, but you can't find the words to tell it. So I recommend, you know, doing that, and that actually helped us out a lot. It brought out some things in us. I feel like, you know, that wasn't really, you know, I guess per se talked about, you know. So yeah, it was great for us.
We've been fortunate. We haven't gone to counseling due to an issue, but however, we do try to befriend people who have marriages that we want to live. So I would say we haven't been to a counselor, but we try to befriend and partner with couples who live a lifestyle that we envision ourselves living for our union and for our family.
We don't currently do counseling. I think it's a good idea to do. We don't. I think you need counseling at every stage of your life, personally and in relationships. So I'm always open to it.
We actually, well, this wasn't per se counseling, but we haven't gone to some marriage retreats or marriage
seminars. We do marriage
yeah.
retreats and marriage seminars.
but not so much counseling. But in a way, it was kind of like counseling because we still learn about each other. And we didn't always think the same way, though a lot of times we do think the same way, but still didn't always think the same way. Well, I think one thing that keeps me going, I guess I don't really think about it, it's just a part of my life. I mean, it is my life, you know, that keeps me going in our marriage.
Yes, and I think with us both, we had this kind of discussion earlier today about how often we do everything together. So we hardly ever, if we leave our home going different directions, it's because either I'm going to work or she's got errands to run or something like that. But at the end of the day, we're always together. But usually 90% of the time we're together. We hardly ever travel without each other.
So what keeps us going is even though, you know, it gets rough and sometimes you just like, you know what, I don't have no energy left in me. You always go back to how you first met. You know, it's kind of like, you know, no matter how bad of a time that you're having, you revert back to your childhood, the good times that you had. And so that's how I kind of compare our marriage. Is no matter what, I can be mad at her, but I still remember, you know, where we connected in. And that was those times that we had. And, you know, getting back to those times, I know right now, you know, we got the baby coming. We're stressed because we're trying to do a lot of things in a matter of 3 months. So it's causing a lot of tension. But, you know, just like I said, reverting back to, you know, how it all started.
I agree. I mean, thinking about always going back to day one and the fun and happy times that we know we're going to eventually get back to, and those things that we have to continue to sprinkle our relationship with.
And we're not saying that it's all bad. You know, I don't want it to, like, you know, be like, come off as like, oh well, yeah, there got some issues going on. There it is, there. No, it's but, you know, like I said, just like in any other couple, you know, you're gonna have those times. So, you know, like I said, I just wanted to, you know, throw that in, but no, like that's our advice.
Yeah, it gets hard. I mean, marriage is hard, and even though we've only been married for a few months, we were both married before, and so we know the ins and outs, and we know what it takes to keep it going and what will break us up.
The decision made in our marriage, you know, I'm more of a, I'm not gonna say I'm not a manly man. I take care of my household and I make sure that my household, but I'm so free spirit and so nonchalant about things to where I'll just be like, whatever you want to do. So I really don't make a decision. I kind of roll with the punch. I kind of roll with the punches, and it's just because you know, stepping on toes is not my forte. I just be like, I eventually, you know.
It bothers me, especially when I ask your opinion and I ask your advice. And, oh, whatever you want to do, like, it bothers me.
We discussed it on major decisions as far as financial. Yes, yeah, they are brought to the table.
Except for when it comes to furniture, he'll come home with a brand new piece of furniture that I don't know about.
Well,
but it's something that he knows I would like.
Yes, I love furniture. If she says she really wants something, correct, I've been looking at that. I can finally buy it for her.
Don't ask me any questions because I'll just say I don't know. No, I'm just joking.
It's pretty even. I feel like there isn't like, oh, your mom handles this or oh, your dad handles that. For the most part, we work together. So there's no.
She's more detail oriented. So I'm like, oh, we're gonna go do this, and then she comes back with the 10 questions of how, when, what, where. I'm like, okay, well, it looks like we need to sit down and talk about this. No, I don't think I did. I think she probably did.
I think for us, it would be more of a. For me, it would be like an issue for us to spend time together, not to separate. So when we got to our 5-year mark, I was like, we need to take time away from kids and our jobs and things like that to be able to spend time together.
Mason, stop, son.
Hey, y'all go and Morgan's room. All y'all go in Morgan's room.
Go ahead and go down so we can finish.
So the 7-year itch. I don't feel like I had a 7-year itch. I think our choice to be friends first has prevented us from being in that situation. When we got together, we chose to be friends first. Yes, we were dating. Yes, we were married, but we're friends first. So that's, I feel, has prevented those types of feelings or discontentment with each other. But for the most part, for me, my 7-year, my itch was for us to spend more time together, which was at our 5-year mark. Because, of course, by then had 3 kids, and we hadn't really had a chance as a married couple to spend time together.
And like back in the beginning, when you start asking questions, we are both very driven. So we're kind of, at that point, we're trying to build a family, trying to establish a career, trying to create generational wealth. So I think, as you said, if there was a confrontation or uncomfortable moment, it was us really just shedding our skin of like what's next for us. Because now we're doing the parenting thing. We've had the kids this entire time. How do we prepare better for them? How do we prepare better for ourselves? How do we take care of ourselves where we are? So it was, I think around that time, honestly, it was just a lot more questions than answers of like, what are the next 20 years going to look like for us specifically? Time was a big factor of that. But financial stability and being smart about how we invest our time, period, was a huge point of contention.
Well, I think I've always thought it was like a 5-year hump, but getting over that 5 years, and that if you can make it through the 5th year, that most likely that you'll do well.
Also, with myself, it's I'm always thinking our marriage has gone so fast. So 5 and 7-year itch, I guess it never really even dawned on me, because I'm always thinking we've been married almost 37 years, and it could be 37 minutes to me because it's gone so fast. It's gone just that fast to me. And sometimes like, it's got to slow down. We're almost at 40 years and it feels like, it don't even feel like a whole year yet some days.
Now, we've had some bad days as well as good days, but we've been able to get over the bad days. So once we get them over,
Yeah, the challenges in our marriage, and that's what, sometimes that's what true marriage is. When two people come together, it's easy to enjoy the good times. But when the challenges come into marriage, that's what really brings out the realness in those two individuals, in the love, the compassion, the understanding, the forgiveness. And that takes time. So, but in a real marriage, when two people are truly joined together, there is an overcoming power in that marriage.
Being perfectly honest, and I don't know how you feel about this, but being perfectly honest, I think is the toughest thing that we've had to overcome in the relationship period is the children. I love his girls like they were my own. I don't agree with all the parenting decisions, not just on his part, but on the other side as well. And that's not something that I have control over, and I'm a control freak, and so I always want to input my opinion, and my opinion's not needed. And sometimes that hurts my feelings because it's not really about you. You don't have any say so in this. And so because I love them so much, I always want to have a say so in it. So that's hard for me. And then I would say money. I mean, we all know that finances is the number one thing that will split couples up. But we're working on some things right now that's, getting us on the same page with, how we spend and where we're going. We do agree that there's a specific place that we want to be within a certain time period. So I think we're growing. We're progressing in that area for sure.
Marriage vows say, for good, for bad, or for worse. And that's so true. It's so easy to hang when it's going great. It's so easy, to hang for the good times. But when those bad times come and those challenges come, that's when so many people want to jump out. But the strength in that marriage comes during those times, during those overcoming times. That's when you really see where you are in your marriage. That's when you really see the realness. Because it's so easy to ride it when it's good. It's very easy. But then when there's no challenges, when there's no, when there's, things that you maybe both disagree on, when those are never brought to the surface, how do you really know, do I truly love this person? But when all those other emotions come out, the forgiveness comes out, the understanding and the respect for your mate really is brought to the surface. You're like, I really do love this person. I really do love this person. And I guess that's why I get up every day and just like, whatever I can do to make my wife happy, that's what I'm driven to do. Some days I hit the mark on the head. Some days I'm just off just a little bit. But I'm always driven to do that. So that's why I would say we do so much together that when we're not together, I feel alone. And I was telling her the other day, sharing with her that when she's out of town, when she's gone, for instance, I feel so uncomfortable in this house. I go in the bedroom, I lock myself in the bedroom at night. Because I'm like, this is too big, I can't. But when she's here, I'm just as fine as I'll get up. But when she's gone, it's just, I've lost part of myself. I don't like it.
External people, honestly, I think, I know that when you're building a relationship and just building a future in general, there are different phases in life that you go through. And I think sometimes when people are invited too close in and then they feel like they can impart their commentary or their opinion about us or cast criticism, honestly, it creates tension or doubt within ourselves. So I think that people outside of our marriage has played an impact on that.
I would say that, yes, I support people, but more in stewarding the right relationships all around, friendships, family relationships, and our corporate relationships with how much time we invest in those things. So, for example, with work, it's easy to get so focused on what your task there that you realize staying at work an hour or 2 hours doesn't seem like a lot, but when you add it up and take away what was taken away from your family or your marriage, then that makes a big difference. Or if I'm having conversations with people that just desire to gossip per se, or talk about things that aren't of value, are not going to add value. So we really have had to, and we're still in the process of learning how to restructure relationships with people all around. That includes church, that includes friendships, like I said, in work, even in our neighborhood. There's just things that we can't waste time on. So I think that's what's been our biggest growth area that we're still learning to grow in.
We're in the phase of life giving, and if it doesn't cultivate a culture of growth and development, like we don't have the capacity to continue to entertain that. We feel that we're called to do more, and with that being said, if it's not life-giving, then it's life-taking. If there's no contribution to anyone's growth and development, then it doesn't have space in our world.
I know one thing we learned about during COVID. We get tired of each other quick.
Quick, fast, and hurry.
Ooh, Lord have mercy. But COVID taught us, basically taught us about space and how we endure our own space. So that was one of the things that it taught us, as well as having patience. So because you have to have patience enough to deal with that, for sure.
And in the same breath, I think COVID brought us so much closer.
Yeah.
Like, he literally proposed in December, and then that March we was stuck in the house until still stuck in the house, pretty much. We learned a lot about each other. We had fun. We picked up some new hobbies together, like playing games.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're board game freaks. Like, every time I see a board game, I'm like, oh, let me get this for the house. And so now when the girls come, they have lots of games to play with, not even knowing that was for us. Like, but we picked up some good habits, and we learned a lot of things about each other. Like, we need our space, we need our time, we need our girl time, and we need our independent time. He needs his man time, and he needs his independent time. And so it's been good. I don't think it's been bad. I think it's been a great experience for us.
Well, during COVID, I haven't really noticed much of a change, except for because of the job situation for Anthony. They cut their number of people, or cut their employees. So he was, actually before then he was working from home. So it was different having him home. It was nice having him home too. But it was different. It was different. Yeah, but we never got in each other's way. I continued to do my normal things around home or away from home. Work from home.
And I've worked from home so many times before that it's almost a norm. So, I'm still comfortable being around my wife all day long. Some couples, that's a challenge. But between my wife and I, it's always comforting knowing that the other was close. And Some days we're so close we bump into each other in this house. We literally run into each other.
Because got to the point where I was just eating by myself because he was gone during the day, so it was nice having someone home to have a meal with, even if it was one meal a day.
So
I didn't have the luxury. Of
yeah, we didn't have the
I, you know,
luxury of quarantine
Yeah.
with the kids being out.
Essential workers. We
Yes,
both were
yes.
essential workers.
So should we have quarantine? Yes. Did we quarantine? No, we did not have that availability to be able to do that. The flexibility in our schedule to be able to do that. What did we learn during COVID?
Stella likes to
I don't know.
flip
What
the
did-
bowl. She's gonna say she was a puppy.
I'll say what I learned during COVID, since the kids ended up being at home, that we were able to still work together in a different capacity to help with their growth, and just continue to be flexible. I mean, our whole marriage, I feel, has been a big opportunity to be really flexible. Like, I don't know, that's just what
God has a
God
sense of humor.
I mean, with us, of course, I mean, for example, whenever we got married, of course, we had Morgan. So, planning for marriage was planning a wedding while being pregnant, while being in pharmacy school. So, that's just been our journey the whole way. So, I think that's, I don't know, it was just another opportunity for us to work together and make it work.
I learned. Oh man, you might kill me for saying this.
What did you say? Anyway, and see what happens.
I learned how talented and what a go-getter Antoinette was during that time, but then I also learned how, with rapid changes, like how much she puts on herself, and seeing her like work in the hospital setting and then work with the children at home, being their teacher, principal, and all the things, like all she wanted was the best. And it really didn't. And there was times where it's like, no matter what I said, as far as like, hey, they're doing so great, they're doing so wonderful, you're doing awesome, it was still like, there has to be more. So I think it just helped me see the importance of not validation, but really just slowing down and valuing what efforts you're putting in. And some of the accountability that you put on yourself isn't necessary because it's already happening. We just got to take 2 steps back and let things grow.
That's a good question. You know, for me, my number one couple, I'm gonna probably gonna name a couple, but I look up to my mom and dad so much. They've been married for 40? You wouldn't know. I'm looking at you. Almost 40 years. I'm pretty sure they're going on almost 40 years. And I've watched them go through a lot. Like, they would be a good, couple. And ups and downs. I mean, moving state to state, and, how they parent, and they're still together. Like, at the end of the day, they always find their way back to each other. Like, they can argue all day long, but they get in the same bed at night, and they cooking breakfast in the morning, and I look up to them so much. They're not perfect by any means. They know they're not perfect, but it's the definition of a strong relationship to me. You have somebody? I want to think of a celebrity couple. And it's funny because people be like, oh, you shouldn't, look up to celebrities. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But I love the Huxtables. I don't know, y'all may be really too young from Cosby Show, but I loved that relationship. And even though it was fictional, like, I love how they, vibed and how they work with their family, and they were just a great couple.
I'm gonna tell you, mine would be, her mom and her dad, of course. Me getting to know her, and then I got to know her parents. Just got the backstory of the foundation for where they at now. I mean, man, it's mind blowing, you know, in a great way. It's a very ideal marriage, you know, being together as long as we've been living. That's a blessing. I'm gonna tell you another couple that I look up to. That's I really don't talk about them at all, but it's Grant Hill and Tamia. You know, they you know, just no matter what, and I can't think of the song that she made about him, about how they, no matter what, they talk on the phone, just like they first met. I think is that the name of the song, We First Met? I think so.
Sounds
But they would just talk on the phone, no matter what, everything, even though they did it before, was always new. So that's something that that to me, I feel like that's inspiring.
A couple that I have admired was our Bishop. He's passed away, and his wife, and just seeing how they function and operate. And I really want to see more of the spiritual aspect of, like, how does a man cover their home spiritually, and how do you lead confidently through the Word. That's something that I look forward to learning more and more with him.
I agree. Seeing Bishop and Pastor Kathy, how they, I mean, the way that they operated was similar, I guess, to what
Yin to the yang.
because she's very outgoing and go-getter, which, like, I agree. I'm like that in a sense that if there's a will, there's a way. So if, like, my car wasn't working, I'm like, okay, well, if I got to push it to the gas station, we can get it there, then we can make it to the next place. And that's how she is, maybe more extreme. And then Bishop was more methodical in plan, but world traveler and things that are on our list of things to do, like just to travel the world and do different things together in various capacities. And just to be a pillar of hope for the people that we encounter. So I think that light that they shine, even in his passing, still having, I mean, that outlive him is what we would desire. Is, I mean, you never know how great you are until it outlives you. And so to see that for him is like, yeah, that's something we would want to emulate.
Well, I have an uncle and aunt that have been married, gosh, I don't know how many years, probably 70 years now. And I'm sure they've been through ups and downs in their marriages, but we don't have very many couples in our family that have been married and stayed married. Most of them have either divorced, some have divorced and remarried, but they've always been a good example to me that I do admire. And as well as my oldest sister and brother-in-law, and they are inspiration to us, and we're very close to them as well.
Yes. I always share with him that he is my example of where I want to be when I get to be his age. I'm constantly doing that. And not just his natural or financial position, but just even in his marriage, how strong it is. Because we always look to each other, and he always share a lot with me in regards to everything, marriage and all. So he's still truly inspiring.
Don't rush it. You know, take your time. A lot of people look at us and be like, oh, a year and a half, that was... We knew what we were looking for when we were single. And so we knew when we found each other, we were ready, because we had already did it and messed up with it. And so get to know the ins and outs of that person, their family, how do they want to have kids? How do they want to parent? How do they want to do money? You know, it's very important to get those details before even thinking about getting married. And don't compromise what you want. If it's something that you wanted since you were a child, that shouldn't even be up for debate when it comes to who you're getting married to. You know, if they not with it, and this, I mean, peace out. You know, like, it shouldn't be up for debate. So,
but no matter what relationship, marriage that you're going to be in, if you don't have God there, I mean, it's going to be tough. So that's first and foremost. And then, like she was saying, you know, just find someone that loves you for you. Find someone that's gonna love you for your flaws. Because if they love you for your flaws, they're gonna show love you for your perfection. Mm-hmm. So just do it, and like I said, just let them know. Be up and honest with them, and also with yourself. And trust me, you'll be fine.
Be friends first. Make a choice to, and I don't mean be friends first because Mechelle and I basically have dated since day one. Like we've talked every day since day one, other than when we were out of the country.
Even when she had time frame, listen, she told me I could only talk to her from
I
the
was
hours
busy.
of,
I worked,
what was
I was
the hours?
and I was an athlete.
I would be
Whenever I
talking
was
to the
free.
hours of 4 and 5 or something ridiculous. I'm
When
like,
I was free.
in another city when she was free, it was like an hour window. I'm like, what in the world?
I worked 2 jobs. Yes, I worked at Drug Mart and I worked at Research and I played and I was soccer and I was busy. Anyway, the point is, I would tell anybody interested in getting married, young or old, choose to be friends every day, and I think that will make the biggest difference because I respect Mechelle more because he's my friend. So if it was I'm upset with Mechelle, like I wouldn't say that to my friend. I wouldn't want to hurt my friend's feelings. So Lord forbid something happened between Mechelle and I, like. He's still my friend, so I would still want to treat him as my friend. Would I be upset and angry and hurt? All those things, yes. But even when, I guess you could say we broke up for a little bit, we still talked every day. We didn't like officially break up. It was just like I don't know, I probably made you mad or you made me mad.
That's another interview.
So the point is,
those wombs are still in Illinois.
The point is, be friends. My suggestion, my advice is choose to be friends every day.
I think be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like when you're entering a marriage, like the two become one. That's biblically sound, and in that you have to shed something, and in shedding that something is going to make you uncomfortable. It's going to make you feel vulnerable. It's going to make you feel some way like depowered, and it's not an authority or I'm better than you or I'm the head of the household, but really you're trying to give up like yourself to figure out how y'all can grow together. So I think going in with the mindset that we're two or one is how you should really address it. You know, you can't just start on a football team and say, I'm the star player, I'm about to do my own thing. It's like, where do I fit in? How do I complement this team? How do I complement this union and be okay with those things changing?
Any advice?
Yes. First, know you. Know you first. Know what your goals are, know what your aspirations are for yourself. Because if you get involved with someone too fast, you lose yourself in that relationship. Know who you are before you go into a relationship and know what you're looking for in a relationship. Don't just get into a relationship and think you found a relationship. Know what you want before you get into that relationship.
Get a background check. No, I'll just teasing.
That's what I mean. Know what you need to know before you get it.
In these days, sometimes it probably wouldn't hurt to get a background check. But
Yes.
But honestly, advice that I would give in when you are in a relationship with someone, if you feel uncomfortable about anything or that other person's not making you feel important or special, that may not be the one. And I want it to be someone that flips you off your feet, that you know is like your knight in shining armor, that he makes you feel like a queen. Because you are a queen, and you deserve the very best. And don't settle for anything less.